What is up guys, Matt here, and this is my review of LEGO's new C-3PO. The set includes 1,138 pieces and will cost you $140 here in the US. Not an amazing price per piece ratio, but not terrible either by LEGO Star Wars standards. I'm going to be honest, I was terrified about this set ever since I heard it was going to happen, just because a certain Wookiee looked so terrible. It was a cursed figure, and I thought, wow, maybe there's just no way that LEGO Star Wars can do like any kind of humanoid figure without it looking terrible and creepy and cursed. Lucky for us, that is not the case for C-3PO in my opinion. I think he looks great. The box here has this nice and serious looking adult theme for the 18+ sets with a black background. I think it looks really nice. One thing that's really interesting about this though is why it's so different from the R2-D2 box that we got. These two sets are clearly intended to be paired with one another. They're in the same scale, they're meant to look great with one another, so why do they have such different looking box art? I have no idea. The other thing you might have noticed when looking at this box is that C-3PO has a silver leg, and you might be asking yourself, why does C-3PO have a silver leg? When did that happen? Well, guess what guys, it's been there the whole time. I found a poll online showing that half of viewers had no idea that C-3PO ever had a silver leg, and if you look up why does C-3PO have a silver leg, it's a super common question that people ask all the time. It's so funny. If you didn't know though, I totally don't blame you, because if you watch the original trilogy, one, the resolution is not amazing in those, it's a little bit fuzzy, but also that silver leg reflects everything around it, so it looks gold 90% of the time, so don't feel bad. If we open up the box, we can see that this set comes with a pretty thick and beefy instruction manual. I was a little surprised how big it is. But also, it comes with one sticker sheet, which is not the end of the world. I'm not super surprised. I wish everything was printed, of course, and the set does come with a couple of pretty nice looking prints. But for all that wiring you see on C-3PO's torso, those are stickers, and I think they did this because they just would have had a really hard time printing those colors on black. At this price point, I wish everything was printed, but I do think the end result is probably a little bit better with them being stickers rather than printed on the black parts. Like most 18+ sets, the instructions for this one includes a lot of interesting information about the character, as well as some cool background information from the designer for this set, who talked about all the different gold pieces used and how he approached making this and the stand and everything. There are a lot of really cool parts usage in this set, and a lot of pieces that are appearing in gold here for the first time. If we do a quick scan of C-3PO, we can see that there's quite a few different golds used, you know, maybe 3 or 4 types of gold, which doesn't bother me. I think it adds a lot of nice visual texture to the set rather than looking piecemeal. I think when it's all pulled together, it looks pretty nice. And the same thing is true for C-3PO's silver leg, where there are a few different silver pieces used there and a couple gray pieces, including some drum lacquered pieces in that really nice bright silver finish. And for those of you who don't know, drum lacquered silver, basically that just means it's a different way that LEGO applies that silver material to the pieces so that it's more shiny instead of being the like more matte silvery look we get in some of the other pieces. Like a lot of other 2024 sets, this set celebrates the 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars, so we get a nice little plaque to add to your collection. This set also includes a nice little plaque and a stand for the one minifigure that comes in this set, a little C-3PO, which is perfect. It's beautiful, amazing, fantastic C-3PO. It's the best version of C-3PO that you can get. This little guy has amazing printing all over the front and the back. He's got beautiful arm printing, and of course we get that dual molded leg. It just looks fantastic with the printing on the side and the front. As we rotate him around, we can see how beautiful that arm printing is and how nice he looks from the back with that great multicolored printing showing all his wiring and stuff. This is a really beautiful C-3PO minifig, so if you didn't happen to get him when he came with I think the Luke's Land Speeder a couple years ago, then this is a really good reason to pick this set up, just for that. If you're enjoying this video, first, thank you so much for clicking on it, but also we are almost to 1,200 subscribers, so if you like this video and you want to see more like it, please feel free to hit that subscribe button, or maybe just like if you don't want to commit quite that much yet. Now let's take a look at the actual C-3PO figure, and I think this set is beautiful. He turned out super well. There's a little bit of repetition, but it was actually a pretty fun build with a lot of really interesting snot techniques and a lot of really interesting ways the parts fit together. If you look at this set from the side, you can really get a sense for how well the LEGO designer was able to get the characterization of C-3PO with that sort of slightly like awkward stance of leaning forward just a little bit with his hands at his waist. He sort of pivots back a little bit at his hips and just looks a little bit funny, and they captured it perfectly. Like it even after having built this set, it's amazing that they were able to do that and to get that stance in this set. It just looks fantastic the way he's canted forward just a little. Unlike R2 over here, you cannot pick C-3PO up off the base. He is permanently attached to that, which I think makes sense because I think it would be really tough to make him stand on his own. This is not a Ken doll. But I actually really do like the base a lot. I think the texture looks really great. They really captured the him sinking into the sand and just looking fantastic. They were able to attach these feet to the base in a very clean way that you cannot really see at all, so that's just fantastic. Like I mentioned a moment ago, C-3PO has a silver leg here, which looks fantastic. Lots of drum lacquered pieces on that silver leg, so he looks appropriately shiny. It looks really, really good. The large round joints on his knees look fantastic and look very much like they do in the movie, so I think that's great. Continuing up to the midsection, all these pieces just look fantastic. There's a lot of there's just the right amount of studs. I think the way that the designer was able to balance studs versus tiles looks really, really great on this set. A lot of parts that you would expect to see tiled off are, like his chest feels very smooth and uniform. The way they were able to capture these subtle angles just below the wiring on his waist looks really, really good. And then right below that studded midsection at the top of his legs, he looks really smooth and tiled off where his codpiece or whatever is. It looks great for a robot. Like we saw earlier, all the wiring on that midsection is stickers, but it looks really good here, so I'm not complaining too hard about that. Just take your time when you're placing those and they'll look really great after they're installed. Just above that wiring, we do get some really nice looking printed pieces where that large rosette on his chest piece is printed, and that looks fantastic. And then there's one more printed piece in his chest area just to give a little bit more detail and attention there. The part usage to get all the really cool details and mechanisms and whatever around his neck and shoulders looks really, really good. I love the part usage here and it looks fantastic. C-3PO's head sits on top of two round pieces that look really, really good. His head swivels around 360 degrees just like Beetlejuice, and that's pretty nice, and it's really, really smooth too. His mouth area is printed on a Nexo Knight's shield piece, which looks really, really good, and it fits his face perfectly in my opinion. When this set was announced, I was really, really concerned about the eyes because we've got some creepy, creepy Lego eyes in some of these more humanoid figures. And I've seen some other people say that they find these to be a little bit creepy too, but to be honest, I think these look really good. They basically look just as creepy as the eyes do in the movie. The multiple kinds of gold we get on the head I think looks pretty good. I like the bright drum lacquer gold piece for the back of his eye, and then with the yellow, I think it looks really nice for his pupils or whatever, I don't know. The point is, I think he looks really nice, and for me, I think the ick factor of this figure is 1 out of 10 tops. He looks good. He's not gonna haunt your dreams like Chewie. Spinning C-3PO around to the back, his upper back area looks really nice. I mean, it's not a super difficult part to model probably, but the way they did it looks really, really good. It juts out just a little bit and those ingot pieces look fantastic. It's the perfect parts usage here. The angles of everything look really good, and the angles down below where his waist, where it starts to reveal the wiring, looks fantastic. I think they did an amazing job on every angle for this thing. It looks like he might need to do some squats. There's not a whole lot going on the backside here, but it does look really good and smooth and tiled off, and it just feels really appropriate for R2. Not R2. I keep saying R2 and I mean C-3PO. It's so much harder to say. The designers also did a really great job capturing the subtle angles and roundness of a figure like this. You know, modeling a humanoid or something that's really organic is very difficult to do in Lego. And the way that they were able to really capture the curvature around his chest and abdomen and thighs and everything, it looks really, really good. They did a great job here. This set also does a pretty nice job of capturing the awkwardness of C-3PO's arms. The easiest position to place him in, and the one you start him off in, is by putting his hands at his hips and giving them that weird Peter Pan elbows out look. But you can actually rotate each of his arms 360 degrees, so you can raise and lower them if you want to do that. Unfortunately, you can't straighten his arms. They're always going to be bent at a 100-degree angle or whatever that is. So that's a little bit too bad. But you can also rotate the forearm a little, around if you want to do that. Maybe that will give you something, I don't know. The hands are actually pretty posable too, so you can rotate the wrist around 360 degrees and back and forth or whatever you want to do, so you can do quite a bit there. His fingers, which are a little bit annoying to attach to be honest, if you want to get them all evenly spaced, but they're all individual, so you can really give him a lot of interesting looks with his fingers and make them do all kinds of different stuff. C-3PO has these little pistons or whatever on the inside and outside of his arms, and those look really nice. The parts used for the shoulders are mostly not ones I'm familiar with. There are a lot of really interesting and cool and unique parts used to create this build. There is some subtle use of some drum lacquered silver pieces used on his shoulder, and those look really, really nice. Let's take a look now at how C-3PO looks next to the $100 R2-D2 that came out a few months ago, and I think he looks really, really good. I mean, it's true that C-3PO is standing on, maybe a few inches of sand there on his little base, but that doesn't really bother me, and I think the pair look fantastic together. Do I think C-3PO is a must-buy if you already have the $100 R2-D2? No, not necessarily. But now that it's out and it looks great, I think they look really cool and I'm glad I have them both. I'm also glad that both of them came with really nice minifigs of themselves. So I think C-3PO is a really cool set that's maybe not the best value in LEGO Star Wars, and I know it's been overshadowed a lot by a certain Star Destroyer that's come out recently, but if you're a big fan of C-3PO, or if you already have R2-D2 and you want another cool figure to stand next to him, I think this is a really great set. Plus it comes with a perfect version of that C-3PO minifigure, and I really wanted that for my collection. I think if I had to pick between this and R2-D2, I would probably pick R2. And if you're thinking about weighing this or the Star Destroyer, which I have right over there and I'm going to be reviewing next, then I don't know, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I think this is a pretty cool set and I'm glad I bought it, but if you wanted to wait for a sale or something, I wouldn't blame you. Alright, later nerds.